What's up, all my power-ass crew? Today's video, we're doing shift linkage for the transfer case. Why? Because it's wore out. Shot another intro to this earlier, but I discovered some other issues, so I'm just going to kind of redo the intro here. What I found was the shifter linkage bushings was wore out, and also the shifter stalk, where it comes from, like you grab hold of the handle and it goes down to the main shifter body to the transmission. That joint right there where it's got that bushing up inside there, it's like a joint, a spring, it was wore out. So we had some issues going on. So in this intro, I'm going to cover both of those in this video. Yeah. Anyway, get on with the video. Peace. Get on with the video. Let's go. So right there is the adjusting linkage for your transfer case. I pulled that off a moment ago and it practically fell out. So I know I've got a lot of play going on right there. This right here is like super tight. Oftentimes that's the case. This right here seems to be always, pretty daggone rigid. So the easiest way to do is pop this out. Oftentimes you can stick a screwdriver back in behind that, wedge it just a little bit, and it'll pop out. But as I'll show you here, look at that. I mean, I just had it stuck back in there, but I mean, it literally pulled it out that easy a moment ago. Now we got the linkage on this arm. Right down here, right down behind the drive shaft yoke, is a 9/16, I believe it is, nut. Take that nut off, you can take this whole arm off. It's a lot easier to work with. So the easiest way to reach that nut is, here's your drive shaft, and in between here, right there, is the 9/16 nut. I'm taking my hand, as you see, going above the drive shaft. I'll have a wrench. Let me grab it. I've already broken it loose, and I thought, hey, wait a minute, you guys need to see this. And whenever you put your wrench on it, you pull it, you will start shifting gears in the transfer case. Just pulling it toward you, you're going to take it into low 4. Pushing it back the other way, you're going to be going into too high, or as it goes through the other gears. So yes, 4 low. So just take the nut off right there. That will allow you to see if there's anything like this bracket's worn, changing out that bushing, and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm gonna put the camera down, so it's really kind of uncoordinated of me to look through a viewfinder while I'm doing this. So here's your linkage. This part right here goes to your shifter, and as you push it back and forth, it goes wee, and this right here rotates the shifter forks inside your transfer case. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. But what happens? This bushing right here, this right here actually feels pretty solid. I can't really easily push anything out. That is not in too bad a shape, that one ain't. Which, like I said a moment ago, is not too uncommon. For whatever strange reason, that's the bushing that wears the most and always the fastest. And this one right here is kaput. There's supposed to be a shoulder right there that goes inside your shifting arm that holds this whole contraption into place. Whenever you push it back and forth, this is tight enough that it actually runs your transfer case through all of its different gears. It's not doing it. So after we got this right here loosened up, this thing is not wanting to move. So I'm going to take some PB blaster, shoot it down inside there, work with it for a little while until I get it to break loose. Ta-da! It moves, it moves. So what did I do? Held this in with the vice grips, crescent wrench on this side right here, twiggled it back and forth while spraying PB blaster down inside there to get it to break loose. And finally it did break loose. Then I took the wrench, tapped it back this way, tapped it back that way, and kept working with it. Sprayed some more PB blaster, get in there to clean out all the gunk, kept working it back and forth. Look at that, we got movement. So, since we got it cleaned up and it's moving, well, time to reinstall it. Yes! So went to O'Reilly's, picked up this Dorman kit right here, 14041. It has an assortment of different bushings in it. And I found this one right here, and it appears it's going to work. But here's the kicker. If you need a pair of bushings or something, you may want to go ahead and order that kit on Amazon, which I'll drop a link here somewhere where you can do that. Well, my camera battery died and totally erased that shot, so here we go. Got that little bushing on right there, but what I did, it's got it set flat, put everything right there, took the flat part of my crescent wrench and just tapped it on there. It was a good solid tap, but it wasn't like I'm trying to hammer a nail or nothing. So you want to check the fitment of your bushing now. And you take and it's going to wobble. That's natural because this one does. See, it wobbles back and forth a little bit. What you don't want, look at this. I'll move it back and forth. Moving it back and forth, I don't feel any movement back and forth like this. And you don't want that, because if you do, that linkage is going to have some looseness in there. It may not push that shift fork in place for proper engagement of 4 low or all the way up into 2 high. And that was my problem last night, is that, well, yesterday, is that my transfer case didn't go into 2 high. I was in 4 high. So grab hold of this bushing right here, move it back and forth. How much movement do we have? Look at that. That's kind of quite a bit. That's going to be too much. I don't like that. So it looks like I've got a 2-day wait until my new bushings get here. Real. So I'm going to pop that off, clean it up real good, and I'll take that back to the store and get my money back. So that kit will not work, and I've got the kit ordered at Amazon, but it won't be here till a couple more days. But it'll be all right. Oh no, that means my Jeep's down. What can I do? Oh my gosh, what can I do? I must drive my Jeep to work tomorrow. I am in 4 low right now. What do I do? No, chill out. Let me show you something. Let me find my crescent wrench. I'll be right back. Oh, there it is. I'm gonna have to reach it. Scrape it up with my heel. Ta-da! Crescent wrench. Adjust your crescent wrench to the size of your shift shaft. Let me show you. Look right there. See, that's a slot. If you've got a slot, that means it's fitting on that shift shaft. That shift shaft has 2 flat spots held right here and right here. Take your crescent wrench, adjust it to that size, and go way up in yonder. Gotta turn my viewfinder where I can see. I see you sneaking up.
I'm sneaking. I parked down the street.
Take your crescent wrench, get up here on that shaft, open it up just enough that you can feel that shaft get hold of it. See right there? Get your crescent wrench on there. Now we can put that thing in any gear you want. There's that. That should be, there's neutral. There he goes. I had to take my foot, kick the Jeep, make it roll a little bit. And so if you put that in, I lost it. There it is. And make sure it's where it needs to be. Dude, it is hard to do this looking through a viewfinder. Come on, this way. Which way does it go? Because the camera is all up in my grill. I can't see something, nothing but the viewfinder. This is what I go through to make YouTube videos for you guys. Okay, tighten it down. I'm just making sure that this isn't too high. And what I'm doing, people, taking my foot against the tire right there, see, rocking the Jeep back and forth, which will allow the internals of the transfer case to do their thing, and you can put it in too high. And from right there, I can drive to work now. And we'll put the parts back together when my new bushings come in. Ta-da! There they are. They have arrived. So I'm gonna open up my garage for a moment and go get me some little bit of grease, put on there, and pop these things in place. And I'm using like regular, grease you use for your ball joints or whatever. I would prefer to have white lithium, but guess what? I ain't got none, so I'm going to improvise for the moment. You push it down, snap the thing on there, then you squeeze a little grease out, then you put that around here. And I'm not going to fight that one simply because it's tight. And try to pack me a little grease in there just for the fun of it, I guess. Some school of thought is that putting this grease in there is kind of useless because once you do a little bit of water play, it's going to wash it out. Which is why I tend to like white lithium better, because it's much more water resistant. And I can't get that grease down inside there, so I'm not going to worry about it. Let's put it back on the transfer case. Getting ready to put that shifting linkage back in. I started just grabbing things, moving it, checking this and that, and check this shifter stalk out. This down here is solid as it can be. Grab that handle, I've got a ton of movement. That spring and bushing stuff up inside there's wore out. So that means I'm about to pull the shifter out of this thing. I'm gonna do one of two things. What I'm probably gonna do is position that thing right there and just weld that sucker in place. Because transfer case shifters are easy to pull. You don't need to separate all this just to get the transfer case shifter out. Now if it was the actual gear shifter, different story. So yeah, take the transfer case shifter out. And one right there. And it's supposed to be one right there, but guess what, it ain't there. So yep, taking those out. And they appear to be 9/16, I believe. So take them out. And you also got to take your shifter knob out, which mine happens to be a big old bullet. Yes. Look how sloppy my shifter is. Terrible. So under your body here, under the shifter boot, you can see right at the top here, if I get in here, you got one bolt, one nut right there on the top of your shifter. This is, yes, a transfer case shifter, but it's also the same studs that sticks up that holds your 5-speed shifter in. And right here in front, right there is another one. Both of those are 1/2 inch. So get those out of there. I've already got the 9/16 out below. So once I get this 1/2 inch out right here, it should come on out. You can see at the top of the shifter, there and there, those are stud bolts, I guess you might say. Basically the bolts are going all the way through the transmission, holding the shifter in place. But the little stud sticking up is what's holding the transfer case shifter in place. So you take out the 1/2 inch nuts and 9/16 down below and you're good to go. And from the looks of it, that ain't very good either. And also from the looks of it, if I try to straighten it right through there, it's gonna break. So guess what? I'm gonna leave it alone. Well, that should take care of that loose sloppy shifter issues. Just weld that baby in place. You can see the bushing was melting out of it right there. Got that taken care of. Now down in the comments, I'm sure somebody's gonna call me out. Man, you know how easy it is to change that bushing in that shifter? Why'd you do that instead of welding? Well, for one, I'm kind of like the roadkill YJ YouTube channels in a way. You know, I'm not about textbook. I'm about just getting the crap done, getting it on the road, and having fun, okay? You know, it's kind of like there's some people who bling, bling, look at me. I'm more like, it's rusted, it's busted. I ain't gonna say it, keep it rated PG. You can see the shifters right there, and I've just kind of got it hanging there. Basically what you do is, it just feeds right through here, then you bring it upward like that. Take the shifter stalk, stick it up through your floorboard, then take that plate, where the shifters are for your transmission. It just sits right on top of those studs. It hangs there for you, and you bolt it in place. Not too bad. That's the reason I don't mind welding that shifter stalk on that. Poke the shifter stalk up through the floor like that right there, and just kind of let it hang somewhere. So then what you can do is move the shifter boot up, take that stock, and where the plate comes over and hangs on those studs for the 5-speed shifter, you just grab it over right here, pop it on there. The two nuts hanging on the studs up top on the 5-speed shifter, put those two in place, but do not tighten them yet, because you still got this bolt that's got to go in right there. And if you tighten this one up top, it'll knock this one out of line, and yeah, you'll just have a whole lot of fun. So put all your bolts in first. Just get them threaded, started in before you start tightening anything up. So now I've got the shifter reinstalled, and I've got the shifter pushing completely forward, which will be in too high. Now it's time to put the linkage in. And people do it different ways. Some people put the shifters all the way up to too high, put the linkage in. Some people pull it all the way back into 4-low, pull the transfer case back into 4-low, and put the linkage back in and adjust it from there. Long story short, it really just makes sure you've got travel both from too high all the way back to 4-low. It doesn't matter which end you really start on. Just pick an end, make sure your transfer case, in this case, the shifter is in too high, make sure your transfer case is in too high. Well, I've been driving the same off and on for the past week or so, so my transfer case is definitely in too high right now. So I'm about to put the leakage in and adjust it from there. Another reason why I typically start out too high is like whenever you put your wrench on the nut to tighten everything up, you're pushing the shifter back toward the rear of the Jeep, which is too high. If you got it pulled up forward at 4-low, and every time you go to tighten it up before you snap your linkage arm in, you got to keep pushing it back into too high. So it's not that really big of a deal, because even with it right there and have that arm on there, you can pull that arm into the different gears and stuff. So not a big deal either way. It's up to you. Now we take this, come all the way forward, and line it up with the shifter right there. And I might have to get a different position to make this happen. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a different position. Looky right there. If you look right there, I took the bushing off the linkage, just stuck it in the shifter first. Why? Because it's been a pain in the tail. So now I got it stuck in the shifter first. Slide that in. Oh, I can't see it. There it is. There we go. Now we should be pretty well lined up to tighten this right here up, but I really don't like it bushed. That sucker is loose. I don't like that at all, and that's actually ordered for this thing. So here's the deal, people. I'm going to run that for now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start gathering parts to create a heim joint from here to there, and just make a solid rod with heim joints on each end of it. So yeah, y'all can look for that video coming up sometime soon, because I don't like it one bit. It's way too loose for my taste. Look. Alright, so those other bushes didn't work. These don't work. I'll just make my own then. That will be coming up on a later video. Okay, I'm going to tighten it up, test my shifter, see what I got. Hopefully it'll stay. See how the shifter right there is at the, I call that a Z gate because I remember back in the days the old Hurst, the B&M maybe, they had the Z gate shifters. Anyway, see how it's touching on this end of that Z gate? Then you go all the way back there, that's going to be 4 low. So right there is about where it needs to be. I know my T case is in too high, so I'm going to go up there inside, pull the shifter all the way back into 4 low, and see where it hits on the back side of that Z gate. As long as you got full travel, you should be good to go on your transfer case. So, go pull it 4 low, see what we got. Let's pull it back through all of its ranges and see if I can feel everything. Right there should be too high. 4 low, because I can feel the detent, because now I've got a solid shifter where I welded that stalk together. I can feel the transfer case of what gear it's going into. So that just went into 4 high. Come around that gate, because you got that Z shape right there. Neutral's right there. And right there's 4 low. Now I can feel it, the transfer case. Now I got it kicked out of gear, because that's going to allow the transfer case to do this thing better. So right there's 4 low. There's going to be neutral. 4 high. And 2 high. Sweet, I'm good. So I'm going to go underneath there, my linkage, and give it another little snug to make sure it's tight. And check that shifter, that loose bushing that I don't like. Kind of see what that's all about, see what it's doing. So I've got that extra bushing left over right here that I'm going to use it to size up a set of heim joints, because I can get them like a Tractor Supply or someplace like that, and or maybe order them online. I just have to figure that part out. So I still got to put my shifter boot back in place. Another drawback to running body lifts, like I mentioned earlier, is that your body comes up, but your shifter, transmission, all that stuff stays put, which makes it go deeper into the body right here. That's why a lot of people have problems with their 5-speeds hitting the front and rear of the tub, especially coming back into your second gears and stuff like that, because it doesn't come back far enough to go into the next gear, so you end up having to notch the body out. So yeah, that's definitely one of the disadvantages of having a body lift. And plus, when it's really cold outside, it's pretty cool out here today, the boot becomes really hard to compress, and yeah, it'll cause you to have issues. Back last winter, the guys at the shop laughed at me because I broke my shifter. I had to re-weld it. Yep, because that boot froze up. But you know what? I've got a solution for that. Come over behind me. I'll show you something. So I got one of these fancy shift boots here, but what I gotta do is find me some aluminum plate. I'm gonna make me a mounting plate for this right here, because it's got to fit around all that, because the one in my YJ currently is like totally hacked. Look at that leather, red stitching, and that old ugly rig is kind of putting a lipstick on a pig, but it'll solve my issues. So one more time, looking at the linkage under here, and make sure it didn't slide on that shaft right there, because if it slides, it's going to knock all your gears out of alignment, And whenever you think you're in one gear, you may be in another and all that fun stuff. But look at that big old gap between the linkage and that shifter. That is totally not cool. As you see, I was able to go through 2 high all the way to 4 low, no issues. But I really don't like how loose that is, so we will resolve that. Well, I now officially have my 4-wheel drive back. I've got a locker up front, and I can go play. Yes. Now, as you see right there, I've already been out playing, because whenever I was out wheeling and my front end drops down under full drop, my drive shaft was rubbing all over my exhaust. But I do have 2.5-inch pipe under this thing, and there's not a whole lot of room. YJs were not designed for 2.5-inch exhaust pipe. But I had all this right here left over from building an exhaust for my Mustang. But there is a solution to that. See right there with the YJs, exhaust comes down here and exhaust comes down there. It comes down to one collector pipe right here. TJs actually do something a little different. You got 3 up front, 3 in the rear, come down to 2. 3 into 2, 3 into 2. And those 2 right here has a Y pipe that comes down and goes under the oil pan here and back. Much better clearance. So, at one point or another, I'm going to get the TJ exhaust and I'm building me an exhaust to go around the front of my oil pan to get my room back right there. So, yep. Some more videos for you guys to look forward to later. Now, when am I going to do the exhaust thing? I have no idea, because this definitely is not on my high priority list. So, and another place of carnage, so to speak. See right there, my fender's all bent. Right there. I stuffed in my 35 so hard that it got up into my fender right there and bent that way. But, oh my gosh, I done bent my fender. So, I had fun. I could get some body armor, comp cut it. There's an idea. Now, as you guys seen, that bushing just a little bit on the loose side, but you know what? My 4-wheel drive works. I can go play. So now I got locker, my front gear matches my rear gear, my transfer case works, I've got the posi lock. Yes, playtime. So everyone, if you enjoyed this video and you learned a little something from it, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, leave some cool comments down below. Peace. Later, y'all.